What's going on, y'all? Four quarters back with a video right now. Get some content up on the page. Make sure y'all see this. Make sure you subscribing in to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Also leave some comments down below. Also stay close to us, following our socials on Instagram and Twitter. Um, Here today to talk some Atlanta Falcons, as you can see. Um, Want to start it off with the most recent thing that happened. We haven't got a chance to get on here, A Jizzle, since the draft. Me and you both was at the draft party. Of course, we know what the talk of the town is, talk in the NFL world, really. How the Falcons kind of spun the draft world on his head at pick number 8 by taking Michael Penix Jr. So, what's your reaction to that pick, and along with the rest of the draft class as well?
Um, okay. Well, it's good to be back. You know what I'm saying? Good to talk some football. The off season doesn't really stop, so it's gonna be, you know what I'm saying? Right now is when we're finally getting folks on the field in action. So, um, first reaction off of the draft was wow. I didn't think they would do it, but they did it anyway. Um, when it comes down to the Falcons, bro, some people expect the bare minimum, and I just expect the unexpected. Um, at all times, right? There's never a dull moment being a Falcons fan, whether it's good or bad. Um,
It's true.
my initial reaction, being a fan at first, was, "Wait a minute, that's not what I thought." But at, in that moment, I also had like a humbling because a lot of these ESPN analysts and stuff like that, they be wrong, and they literally just pin whoever the best person is for the needs of that team is, regardless of knowing that the GMs or head coaches have a plan to those teams. So um, even after the first couple picks went the way it's supposed to go, and I was just like, I just feel like it's finna be something different. Uh, Seeing Michael Penix's name coming off the board and hearing his name actually really kind of threw me off. But it was just like, we don't have to worry about it more. But I was like, I'm not one of those fans that's thinking like, why did you pay? I don't care that we pay him that money. All you did was tell him that you are going to pay him and I wasn't surprised that Kirk Cousins was shocked or not feeling some type of way about it, because that he was already ready to leave Minnesota if they got a quarterback. And then coming here and being kind of blindsided by it, it's like, hey, and you're here to teach this young guy how to be a pro for the next 2, if not 3 years. But even though we already know where the money is tied in his contract, so it makes, like, it really just for a little bit as far as Penix goes. But I'm glad he's a Falcon. I'm glad we're not gonna be playing against him no time soon. Like, it was a good pick, and I appreciate the pick, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness of somebody to actually, give us that sustained success behind another quarterback, because I know everybody felt that cold draft that came in after Matt Ryan left. Like, it was just like we couldn't find a quarterback, couldn't find that was consistent enough to get the ball to the weapons that we had been drafting and everything like that. Because I honestly say, like, um, it still shook up the draft, because they was like, you wouldn't pick a running back that high. Why would you do that? And we did it anyway. Um, as far as the next picks, because there's more than just one round of the draft,
All right.
you know, uh, I can really say that we made some solid picks after doing my evaluation on their highlights. Just off initial, like, TV highlights, you can't really go off of those anymore when it comes to these players sometimes. But Rook Aurora, he's gonna be some serious wrecking on the inside with the rest of the D tackles. Um, and I do believe that our other picks from both Oregon and Georgia could actually see themselves in a package or one swapped out for the next because I remember they were saying that if you think about it, defensive line is the most rotated position on the field. Um, you don't really see a lot of people subbing in a lot of uh, a lot of offensive linemen at a time. If you do that, that's just giving up to the defense, like giving the defense the edge at that point. Um, and then as far as like the last couple picks, um, Washington will be a good addition as far as like he's a sneaky addition to the wide receiver room. Um, I watched some of his highlights as well. Um, he became a he became a solid receiver last year as far as catching the ball, but he's mainly for special teams, so I can respect it. Um, and then uh, our running back that we drafted from Alabama. I mean, if he did have the off the wall name or have Heisman votes or anything like that, but he definitely toted the rock at Alabama and gave solid stats as far as like rushing and breaking tackles and yards after contact, stuff that you look for in running backs that you could possibly put in a return. With the kick return being different this year, you don't want to put any old legs back there returning kicks. You want to go ahead and get some fresh young legs back there to run the ball back. If the only people moving on the field in this kickoff and kickoff return is the kicker and the returner until he catches the ball, that's a lot of time like that the runner has to advance the ball before anybody's even moving. Um, so I think his addition is going to help us in special teams as well. And then our last big guy from Georgia, Zion, can definitely find himself in some type of rotation if he doesn't get cut before then. He just has to be like he has to show out. I think his like whether he makes the team or not will just be decided in preseason games and training camp.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you for the most part. Yeah, the first pick definitely gained some buzz closer it got to the draft. I didn't read too much into it. I thought maybe they was trying to get some teams to trade up with them, but
Right.
it was a quarterback heavy draft. We saw the record tied, I believe, with six taken in the first round. Um,
Six in the first 12 picks.
so I mean, like everything they saying, the logic behind it makes sense. I know people don't really understand it because you did just pay Kirk, but I mean, like I referenced earlier, kind of, free agency comes before the draft, and you're not going to wait till the draft to try to address the need at quarterback. Not after this team has
Right.
been through the last two times. And
Right.
I believe they said when they interviewed Raheem Morris the first time when he was the interim coach, they was telling them that they needed a draft successor for Matt Ryan, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't end up doing it. So of course, when he comes back and knowing his history, when he was the coach out there in Tampa Bay, he got fired almost
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't have a quarterback. So he's going to make sure that he gets somebody now. He has somebody later.
Yep.
Mm. I'm not mad at the plan. Yeah,
Nope.
it's gonna kind of hurt to have talent like that on the bench for 2 years because you want to see him play. But if Kirk is doing what he needs to do, then you won't really be thinking about Penix Jr. Now Kirk starts to play bad. Of course, you always gonna have that thought in the back of your head, like, hey, we do have this young arm on the bench who, might be better than what we had starting, but it is what it is. I like having a quarterback come in, sit down, learn the system, learn how to be a pro, learn the ins and out of the offense. He's still going to throw to these guys in practice. They're going to still build a rapport. So he's going to know how to throw to Drake, throw to Kyle, Darnell, whoever it may be. So um, I think the pick makes sense. The national media just likes to shit on anything the Falcons do. So it is what it is.
Right.
Um, and then the next three picks, addressing really the next four, addressing the front seven. I like how they just attack the need with force, getting Rook. I think he's a kind of a developmental guy, but like you said, he has the traits, he has the body type, the athleticism. They really went for like a specific type of build. Well, everybody they got, everybody pretty much was either a high pressure guy in college or is an athlete, tremendous athlete.
Right.
So Trice can probably come in and give you some good snaps year one. Really, all three of them, to be honest. JD probably is going to be a backup, but your linebacker room is pretty much solidified now. You got four solid linebackers. Troy Anderson,
Right.
Nate Landman, Caden Ellison, now JD. So you got pretty much solid depth there. Jace probably will be a third running back. Depending on how he look, you're probably not gonna pay Tyler Algier when it come time for that. So maybe he's your grooming him to be the second running back. Maybe you do pay Tyler. I don't see it really unless he takes a team friendly deal, but we'll cross that road when it comes. Big Zion Lowe got a Georgia D tackle. Was good to see them draft a dog because a lot of fans complain about that.
Right.
If he's kind of like Eddie Goldman insurance, if Eddie Goldman doesn't play, which is we've seen.
Decided to retire again. Yeah.
Right. So you got a big nose tackle up there in the middle who can play the run. So we definitely attacked the trenches because I pretty much figured they was going to attack the trenches hard in the draft because they didn't really do nothing in the free agency to really get nothing like done with that.
Right.
And then Casey Washington, like you said, pretty much might be like a sneaky addition, but more so towards special teams. So I like the class, but at the end of the day, like you said, man, the draft reviews and the highlights really don't matter. It's about 2 to 3 years. The draft grades can be A pluses all you want, but if they don't play on the field, when we review it in 3 years, we'll see if it was a good class or not. So
Right.
I'm gonna trust the staff and trust what they see in the guys they drafted, and hopefully their analysis is what it needs to be.
Right.
So moving on, we got the NFL schedule release about to come out on the 15th. Of course, we have already seen the Falcons' future opponents, but we don't know yet if the Falcons will get a primetime game. We haven't had a primetime game about 2 or 3 seasons now. So, do you see the Falcons getting a primetime game? And if so, what opponent do you see? I think the Minnesota game is kind of an obvious one, almost just for the storyline with Kurt going back to Minnesota. I don't know if we'll be lucky to get two. I mean, it's kind of hard for us to get one at this point, but I mean, a Thursday night game against a division rival, maybe. I mean, I see Kansas City on the schedule, so that's all in the Dallas at home. So those two are almost, and then you got Arthur Smith coming back with Pittsburgh, so you might have a chance there. So I mean, I see some games possibly that may be, but I think we should at least have one, hopefully two though. What you think? I want to home
Um.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the closest games that we'll get to a prime time, home and away, the Pittsburgh at home or the Kansas City game at home, because a simple fact of Patrick Mahomes, of course, and that whole situation, that whole ordeal. They came and played us before. Last time they played us, we were actually on CBS, and it was a 1 o'clock. But I think this time they bring back the primetime lights because it might be later in the season game or against against a divisional opponent in either the Carolina Panthers or the Saints. And but for the season, I think we'll probably get Minnesota in prime time on a Monday night or on or a Monday night or America's Game of the Week at 4 o'clock. And then uh as far as at home, it'll probably be Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, okay. Yeah, definitely hoping for some primetime games, man. And home, like give us a home, bro. We got some storylines. We got a team that I feel like every team should get a primetime game anyway. But for us to just not get one is kind of crazy.
I just didn't like that they kept giving certain teams primetime games and they was just getting spanked all over the
Yeah,
place.
you give certain teams about 3 or 4, and they ain't even talking about nothing for real. But
Right.
moving on from that, uh, gonna end it off with a roster review. Training camp is upcoming, so this about to be this like second wave, third wave, whatever you want to call it, of free agency. It's still time to add to the roster. Um, Here we have a PFF breakdown of projected starting offense and defensive lineup. Um, it might be a little blurry, but anything you think of as far as somewhere where you see a hole that needs to be added to before the start of training camp or just the start of the season? Any position groups you feel comfortable with? Just a slight little roster review of what's going on.
Um so just off top, it's like the defense is solid on the back end, but I do think that if we had the chance to uh, okay, hello space. Okay. So yeah, I was gonna say just make sure Richie Grant's not starting, bro, because that was one of the holes in the defense last year. Richie Grant kept getting stiff armed into the ground again and all this extra stuff. It's like he's a good blitzer and a good tackler when it's coming up to being in the box and stuff like that. But when it comes to coverage, he's not a coverage safety. So I would definitely say just make sure he's okay with that. And then as far as the offense goes, I wouldn't say that the offense is too um they're not they're not too I think if anything on offense, you might need maybe one more receiver just in case, just the insurance. It's not like the way the market is right now. It's not worth paying somebody a significant amount to come in and be a number three or number four, unless they're going to take a veterans minimum or something like that. Um, I did see something though. Well, here he was. That reminds me, I didn't watch Unplugged today. Sorry. Um, he didn't. Uh, he did mention that there's going to be players coming to this team still. So, I mean, I think Terry's a good finisher when it comes to the free agency wave because he's able to get the last little bit of guys that do have that skill level that we need to bring on the team or that veteran experience to teach guys on the team. There's no gap that they're teaching out there.
Yeah. I saw some as well that saying we had a few offers out there to a couple players, probably just waiting to see where they want to go. Probably some veterans who don't want to go through the whole offseason shindig, OTAs, and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, I think another receiver too. I would feel because maybe if I could push Rondell more to my 4 and get somebody else maybe to push Darnell inside. I don't know. Um, Pitts should be back healthy this year. So Pitts, London, Mooney, Moore, that should be enough Plus, you got two running backs. You got two good running backs. Maybe O
Right.
line. You can never have enough good linemen. Um, I don't know why Drew Dalman gets so much hate, bro. He really a solid center. You see, PFF got him ranked third out of
Yep.
36. He just had a couple snap issues, and he a little light in pass protection, but he's a good solid center. Like you can't nitpick every single position. Like
Right.
if you got somebody who good to solid, bro, yeah, you might want to replace them, but you also probably want to just stick with them because you probably got some bigger holes. You probably got bigger fish to fry somewhere else. Because like McGarry is a better run blocker as well, but he ain't just the worst. But I say I would look to replace him by the time Penix gets to start because I wouldn't want him to be the blind side.
Right.
But for right now, these little 2 years, as long as he hold up in pass protection against Kurt, well, with Kurt back there, I'm cool rolling with him. I say defense wise, if we can find an edge, I think in the interior we pretty much straight, especially with the draft additions. But if we can get somebody on the edge, and I'll pull up the free agency list because I know it's not any super duper big names on the list now. But I mean, maybe if you can get Calais to come back, maybe that'll be enough. Well, it's going to have to be sacked by committee. Obviously, we don't have that high end pass rusher on this team, but like I said, linebacker straight. If you maybe can get another safety to start opposite Bates. I like Helms, but I don't know if I like him enough to just be clear cut starter because it really would just be between him and Richard Grant.
Right.
And I don't really want Richard Grant out there on the field. Corner, I think you need another corner. I think I like Clark Phillips, but like I said, I don't know if I like him enough to be clear cut starter CB number 2. Maybe you can get somebody like
Right. Not yet, at least. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, because and then you got to think if somebody go down, like if AJ go down, we in trouble. And I don't know why they got Mike Hughes starting in the slot. I think that should be D Alford.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Hughes was just not cutting it for me last year at all. Maybe move him to the outside. I got a list of free agents here. Free agents here. Still available. I mean, you still got Xavier Howard out there, but at this point, we probably only signing somebody on like little 1 years who's gonna play for like $1 million or something like that. So, I mean, you still got it ain't looking too good. I mean, Killer Weatherspoon played with the Rams last year. He was pretty solid, only 29. You can get him in here for about the same. I would be cool with that. That's been a name that's been floating around with close to us anyway. If we had the funds, I wouldn't be opposed to like a Stephon Gilmore for like one season.
Right.
Or like a Xavier Howard. Like I'm cool with even a Dory Jackson, but I'm just looking at their previous contract, and I'm not really seeing us dishing out that type of money right now. Because obviously they don't list that big of a need, but like I said, they do have offers out there, and then Justin Simmons still out there, but like I said, that cap number. Not really seeing too many safeties that I would just be. I mean, John Johnson, another Rams connection, but I ain't really seeing nobody on the list that I'd just be. Maybe Marcus May spend some time in New Orleans. Micah Hyde still on there. Quandre Diggs. There's still some safeties out there.
Yeah, it's some guys out there that can really ball.
And then the edge position, not really much in the bucket. Shaq Lawson is a guy whose name frequently is tied. But the Priest still out there. But at this point, Calais Campbell would be Carl Lawson still out there. But it ain't really gonna be bringing in no difference makers for real. For at this point, it's really just gonna be somebody to fill out your depth.
Right.
And then I know you said wide receiver wise, because do they really want to bring more speed in if they was to bring a wide receiver? I think you pretty much solved the speed issue now. So I think you probably need a bigger type body.
And you need a possession receiver.
And
Another possession receiver to put in whenever Drake come out the game.
I mean, maybe you want to bring Russell Gage back, possibly. Uh, Possession receiver wise, I'm not really seeing nobody, to be honest, that I really want.
Right.
Zay Jones, maybe, I don't know, because you need somebody with some sure hands. Like I'm seeing a name on there, but I'm not even gonna entertain that idea though. The dude's so burnt out, and I just want him on the roster. But
Yeah.
that so wrapping up here, we're gonna make this a little 30 minute with this last 5 minutes. So what you training camp coming up? What's some storylines? What you looking for? As we get into this training camp, what you want to see go on? Just, get into the rhythm of
Yeah.
the season.
All right. Well, as far as like things I want to see from my own chair, you know, from out there in my chair,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna just I'm gonna just say I want to see like support. I don't want folks to be out there trying to critique every little thing that happens with this team and try to say, "Oh, who threw that? Oh, who threw that?" I mean, it's a cool, what I'm saying, question to ask on Twitter and all that stuff like that. But when it comes to like this quarterback position this season, I want to see folks not blow this out of proportion because we know who the clear cut starter is, and if we just so happen to have a good backup that's gonna be able to play real soon, and we know this, like why not be patient and let it blossom? Like it's not gonna hurt us to let him play unless Kirk is completely stanking it up. Um, I want to see uh Penix grow as far as like his um his adaptability to the NFL, knowing that he's an elite processor in college and wanting to be an elite processor in the NFL. It may be the same as far as the sport, but when it comes down to actually processing in the NFL and processing in college, he's going to be a lot faster. It's going to take a lot more quickness in his timing. So adjusting to the speed, I want to see that from Michael Penix. As far as the defensive perspective, I want to see the defense continue to be stingy. I want the defensive linemen to continue to grow together. As far as Grady being the leader, the right leader for that group. Um, if they do get Calais back, I want all the young guys to feed off of the older guys, man. Get all the knowledge that they can, all the moves and all the techniques, all the habits and everything that they need to have in order for this team to be top 10 in the league again in some of the defensive stats. Because I mean, we were literally a couple stops and points away from being in the playoffs last year, and knowing that you have a defense that had stats that were ranked in the top 10 except for your run stopping defense, it gives me hope that we can be even better this year under a defensive minded coach. um, that's my big X factor. Really is, how do these guys play for Raheem as opposed to playing for Arthur Smith? And I think it's more of a thing where you're playing with Raheem instead of playing for Raheem. Like he's almost like a player as a coach. Um, with him being a a player's coach, you'll see him giving a lot more constructive criticism and being able to criticize at the right moments instead of just being, like some players have already said, stiff and unwanted and attitudish. So looking
Yeah,
forward to a winning season this year.
yeah, that's pretty much my training camp thoughts. I'll get onto them quickly so we can wrap up. But like you said, seeing how Raheem implements his style onto the team, that'll be interesting to see. Also, the two different coordinators, Zach Robinson on offense, Jimmy Lake on defense, that'll be interesting to see what the new system looking like on how they want to utilize these players that we got, Darnell, Rondell. Well, we got some black ass names on offense, but Darnell, it'll be
Drake.
interesting. it'll be interesting to see how they want to use those guys. Defense, it'll be nice to see all the new D linemen out there. We should be stout in the trenches, so it's gonna be a competition in training camp, like you said, because like Zion Lowe might not even make the roster. It Taquan Graham, Eddie Goldman, LaKale London, we got some linemen who might not make this team because we just so stacked, especially in the interior. So
that's a good thing to have. That's a good problem to have, though.
that means you're gonna have the best guys out there at all time, and you're gonna have solid folks either not dressing out or on the practice squad. Um, you know, preseason football, the more we analyze the team, you used to like be like, oh my God, preseason. You still be ready for it to be over with. But like I said, with all those names, it'll be interesting to see guys, fighting for a position. It'll be, Kirk, definitely want to see Kirk, how he looking. You want to see Penix as well, how he throwing the ball, because that's all you hear is people talk about how him throwing the ball in person, how the ball comes off his hands. So it's gonna be hard for that not to be the overshadowing thing, because he is the new thing in town, but so is Kirk. But at the same time, folks gonna end up loving Michael Penix Jr. I have no doubt about that. He's gonna be a fan favorite. As long as he turn out to be what he need to be, folks gonna like. I'm telling you, because this city has been wanting that type of flavor at quarterback for a long time anyway. Yeah. So I don't have no doubt about that. But yeah, like you said, man, just you're gonna have the fans who want to critique things. As a fan, you have your right to critique what you want to do or whatnot. But just sit back and watch what they do, and try to think with some optimism. That's what I do. I like to think that they know what they're doing.
Right.
I think it's going to be a winning season. When we got Kirk, I said NFC South should be the goal. And I still think just because you didn't draft anybody at 8, it still should be the goal. This division is really that solid. I think with the roster you got set now, I feel like the quarterback should be a 3-win difference on a 7-win team 3 years in a row. So, 10-7 should be enough to get the job done, if not 11 wins. So,
yeah, I was gonna say because Kurt added, they said 5 or 6.5 wins to our team just by signing.
Well, there you go. You get it, and then you got a new coaching staff as well who know what they're doing theoretically. So, hey, it ain't nothing but to see it now at this point. So,
yes, sir. Nothing to it but to do it.
Like I said in the beginning of the video, y'all make sure to subscribe. Make sure we help the channel grow out.
Yes,
we
sir.
5 subscribers right now, trying to make our way to a huncho. Also, like the video, comment what you think down below about the topics we discuss. Let us know some future topics to talk about, and stay with us on the Instagram and the Twitter. I'll drop those down in the description. And until then, rise up, motherfuckers.
Yes, sir.